Dear students of class 12, very pleasant good morning to you all. Dear students, here I am with our short story, ninth short story, that is The Sound Machine, written by our famous writer Roald Dahl, and we are on page number 102 to 105. This is the portion we will be learning. Page number 102, the second paragraph onwards. Second paragraph onwards we will be reading and trying to understanding this one. So let me remind you about the previous class where our Klusner, the old man, he was busy in making a sound machine. He was doing some experiment with sound and he realized there are some voices or some sounds which we are not able to hear. So if we are not able to hear, that doesn't mean that there is no sound. And according to his theory, there are, if the pitch or sound is too high or deafening sound, then that we won't be able to hear anything, or if the sound is so low, then also we won't be able to hear anything. That means according to Klusner, dogs and other animals, they have better audibility or better listening or hearing capacity. So in this story, as our Klusner was making some kind of experiments with his sound machine, there came his family doctor, Dr. Scott, and he was trying to, Klusner was trying to tell what he was doing all about the machine and so on. Of course, please pay attention on page number 102, the second paragraph onwards. Klusner was becoming more animated every moment. Becoming animated means almost behave or act. Acting as he says something. Animated every moment. He was a small frail man. Frail man means weak man, nervous and twitchy. Twitchy means irritable person with always moving hands. His large head inclined toward his left shoulder as though his neck were not quite strong enough to support it rigidly, strongly, straightly. It's always having a bend like this. Yes. His face was smooth and pale, almost white, and the pale grey eyes that blinked and peered from behind a pair of steel spectacles were bewildered, unfocused, remote. He was a frail, nervous, twitchy little man, a moth of a man, dreamy and distracted, suddenly fluttering and animated, and now the doctor, looking at that strange pale face and those pale grey eyes, felt that somehow there was about this little person a quality of distance, of immense, immeasurable distance, as though the mind were far away from where the body was. So doctor could, from the very overlook or the outlook or the outer appearance of our Klusner, doctor thought there is something different. There is some strange thing in this man. He is not quite normal, but he is rather a strange person. There is something that makes him a separate person, a different person from other common crowd. The doctor waited for him to go on. Klusner sighed and clasped his hands tightly together. I believe, he said, speaking more slowly now, that there is a whole world of sound about us all that the time that we cannot hear. Again he is saying there is something which we cannot hear. Sound is there, but sound is there. In the utter silence also, dear students, there is some sound which we are not able to listen. It is possible that up there is those high-pitched, inaudible regions, there is a new, exciting music being made with subtle harmonies and fierce, grinding discords, a music so powerful that it would drive us mad if only our ears were tuned to hear the sound of it. There may be anything for all we know there may. Yes, he says that sound is there. Definitely sound is there and we are not able to hear. There is harmony in the world. We all believe that the heavenly bodies, they revolve around and make beautiful symphony. We all believe when the planets move around, they make some sound. But we are not here able to hear it because of the other disturbance in the world. That doesn't mean that there is no sound. It is scientifically proven. Same way, what our Klusner is also saying, there are sound, harmony in the world which we are not able to hear, and if we happen to hear, sometimes we may become mad. Yes, the doctor said, but it is not very probable. But it is not very probable. Why not? Why not? Klusner pointed to a fly sitting on a small roll of copper wire on the workbench. You see that fly? Pointing to a particular monkey. Yes. What sort of a nonsense is that fly making now? What sort of noise? What type of sound the fly is making? None that one can hear. We can't hear what the sound is made by that particular fly or bee. We are not able to hear. But for all we know, the creature may be whistling like mad on a very high note, or barking or croaking or singing a song. But it is making a sound, but we do not know whether it is singing, barking, croaking, or singing a song. We do not know, but definitely it is making a sound. It has got a mouth, hasn't it? Yes, it has got a mouth. It is got a throat. It has got a throat. The fly has got a throat and a mouth. Thus, it will make sound. The doctor looked at the fly and he smiled. He was still standing by the door with his hand on the doorknob. Well, he said, so you are going to check up on that. So you are going to check up on that door. Okay, you are going. Now doctor understood what Klusner was planning for. He was planning to check the box and make a machine. Some time ago, Klusner said, I made a simple instrument that proved to me the existence of many odd inaudible sounds. Once again, some time ago, Klusner said, I made a simple instrument that proved to be the existence of many odd inaudible sounds. Inaudible sounds means the sound which we cannot listen. But he has made a machine which helps him to listen those sounds, inaudible sounds. Often I have sat and watched the needle of my instrument recording the presence of sound vibrations in the air when I myself could hear nothing. I have noticed the movement of the needle that vibrated when some sound is made. And those are the sounds I want to listen to. I want to listen to the sound that I have not listened. I want to know where they come from and who or what is making them. So now probably the thing is clear for you what our Klusner is attempting. He is attempting to make a sound box, a sound machine through which he could hear the inaudible voices that are happening around. He wants to prove that not only human beings or animals make sound, even other living organisms like plants, trees, They all fish, they all make sound. And he is making an experiment on it. Please come back to the test. And that machine on the table there, the doctor said, is that going to allow you to hear these noises? Point into the box there. Doctor told, is that the machine which is going to help you to listen those sounds? Yes. It may. Who knows? So far I have had no luck, but I have made some changes in it, and tonight I am ready for another trial, another experiment. This machine, he said, touching it with his hands, is designed to pick up sound vibrations that are too high pitched for reception by human ear and to convert them to a scale of audible tones. Now he is planning his machine. He has made that to make a high sound, to listen the high sound machine. And after, when the sound touches on this machine, it will become audible level. Yes, I tune it in almost like a radio. How do you mean? It isn't completed. He's told it is not completed. I say I wish to listen to the squeak of a bat. Squeaking sound of a bat. For example, shh, that sound is there, isn't it? Or a bat flies sound is there. That is fairly high pitched sound, about 30,000 vibrations a second. 30,000 vibrations a second time. The average human ear can't quite hear it. Now, if there were a bat flying around this room and I turned it to 30,000 on my machine, I would hear the squeaking of that bat very clearly. He is trying to say his theory. I would even hear the correct note, F sharp or B flat or whatever it might be, but merely at a much lower pitch. Don't you understand? He is trying to, our Klusner is trying to explain how he is intending or planning to listen the sound of inaudible sounds. The doctor looked at the long black coffin box. And you are going to try it tonight? Are you going to try it tonight? Yes. Well, I wish you luck. He glanced at his watch. My goodness, he said, I must fly. I must go. Goodbye. And thank you for telling me. I must call again sometime and find out what happened. Call again. I must call again means I must visit again to check what happened. The doctor went out and closed the door behind him. For a while longer, Klusner fussed about with the wires in the black box. Then he straightened up and in a soft, excited whisper said, now we will try again. He is talking to himself. The doctor already left. We will take it out into the garden this time, and then perhaps the reception will be better. He thought of taking his machine outside for experiment. Lift it up now, carefully. Oh my God, it's heavy. He carried the box to the door, found that he couldn't open the door without putting it down, carried it back, put it on the bench, opened the door, and then carried it with some difficulty into the garden. He placed the box carefully on a small wooden table that stood on the lawn. He returned to the shed and fetched a pair of earphones, carried a pair of earphones. He plugged the wire connections from the earphones into the machine and put the earphones over his ears. The movements of his hands were quick and precise, exact. He was excited and breathed loudly and quickly through his mouth. He kept on talking to himself with little words of comfort and encouragement as though he were afraid that the machine might not work and afraid also of what might happen if it did. He was worried, anxious man. Yes, nervous man. The character, typical character is here. He stood there in the garden beside the wooden table, so pale, small, and thin that he looked like an ancient, consumptive, bespectacled child. The sun had gone down. There was no wind, no sound at all. From where he stood, he could see over a low fence into the next garden, and there was a woman walking down the garden with a flower basket on her arm. So, from his garden, from Klusner's garden, he observed in his neighbor's garden a lady coming for cutting the plants or roses. He watched her for a while without thinking about her at all. Then he turned to the box on the table and pressed a switch on its front. He put his left hand on the volume control and his right hand on the knob that moved a needle across a large central dial like the wavelength dial of a radio. The dial was marked with many numbers in a series of bands starting at 15,000 and going up to 1 lakh. And now he was bending toward over the machine. His head was cocked to one side in a tense listening attitude. His right hand was beginning to turn the knob. The needle was traveling slowly across the dial, so slowly he could hardly see it move, and in the earphones he could hear a faint spasmodic cracking. Spasmodic means painful cracking. Behind this cracking sound he could hear a distant humming tone, which was the noise of the machine itself, but that was all. As he listened, he became conscious of a curious sensation, a feeling that his ears were stretching out away from his head, that each ear was connected to his head by a thin, stiff wire like a tentacle, and that the wires were lengthening. That the ears were going up and up toward the secret and forbidden territory, the dangerous ultrasonic region where ears had never been before and had no right to be. He is making the experiment and trying with his machine to listen the inaudible sound. The little needle crept slowly across that dial, and suddenly he heard a shriek, weeping cry, a frightful, piercing shriek, and he jumped and dropped his hands, catching hold of the edge of the table. Suddenly, he heard some shrieking sound, some cry, painful cry he heard. He stared around him as if expecting to see the person who had shrieked. As he listened, our Klusner turned around to see who made that particular sound. There was no one inside except the woman in the garden next door, and it was certainly not she. He heard some shrieking sound, and he looked everywhere to find the person who made that sound, and he could not find anybody except the woman in the other garden. And he understood definitely it was not the sound of that lady. She was bending down, cutting yellow roses and putting them in her basket. What she was doing? She was cutting the roses and putting in her basket. Again it came, a throatless, inhuman shriek, sharp and short. very clear and cold. The note itself possessed a minor, metallic quality that he had never heard before. A different type of sound he heard. Klusner looked around him, searching instinctively for the source of the noise. Again, when he heard the second time, again he heard the same sound. And he looked everywhere. The woman next door was the only living thing in sight. He saw her reach down, take a rose stem in the fingers of one hand and snip the stem with a pair of scissors. She was snipping, cutting. Yes. Snip the stem with a pair of scissors. Again he heard the scream. So, what was the sound our Klusner was listening? He was listening the painful sound of the rose stem when it was cut. It came at the exact moment when the rose stem was cut. The exact moment sound came in his machine. At this point, the woman straightened up, put the scissors in the basket with the roses and turned to walk away. After cutting, the woman was about to go by. Mrs. Sanders, Klusner shouted, his voice shrill with excitement. Oh, Mrs. Sanders. And looking around, the woman saw her neighbor standing on his lawn, a fantastic arm-waving little person with a pair of earphones on his head, calling to her in a voice so high and loud that she became alarmed. As Klusner called the woman, she stopped. Cut another one, please. Cut another one quickly. Cut another one. So Klusner asked the woman to cut another rose. She stood still, staring at him. Why, Mr. Klusner? She said. What is the matter? Please do as I asked, he said. Cut just one more rose. Please cut one more rose. Mrs. Sanders had always believed her neighbor to be a rather peculiar person, a strange person or a person having strange nature. Mrs. Sanders always thought her neighbor as a strange person, a different kind of person. Now it seemed that he had gone completely crazy, and now she felt Klusner must have gone crazy, pagal ho gaya hai. She wondered whether she should run into the house and fetch her husband. She was wondering whether she should run home to call her husband. No, she thought, no, he is harmless. No, he is not dangerous. He is not going to do any harm. I will just hammer him, certainly, Mr. Klusner, if you like, she said. I will just hammer him, certainly, Mr. Klusner, if you like, she said. She took her scissors from the basket, bent down and snipped another rose. She bent down and cut another rose. Again, Klusner heard that frightful throatless shriek in the earphones. Again, it came at the exact moment the rose stem was cut. When it was cut, he took off the earphones and ran to the fence that separated the two gardens. All right, he said, that is enough. No more, please, no more. So, no more, please, no more. Yes, dear students, as our topic also says, no more, please, no more. That may be the prayer of you. I stop here for the day and we continue in our next class. So, here in our class, what we have learned, Klusner is making the experiment with his sound, and according to his theory, there are sounds which our human ears cannot hear, and there are high pitched sounds which we are not able to hear, low pitched sounds there we are not able to hear. See, now I just gave a short pause. There was no communication, there was no talk. That doesn't mean that there was no sound. Sound was there. but we could not listen. That means how poor is our capacity of the ear, isn't it? Okay, I stop here and we continue in our class. One just small correction. I took the page up to 106. Okay, beginning I told the chapter is up. The lesson of the day is from 102 to 105, but it is 106 up to middle portion. All right, you take care. Have a nice day. Thank you very much.